So welcome to Spectrum Crusty Repair Part 2. If you've not seen Part 1, I recommend that you do so. You'll probably get more out of this video by watching that first. But that said, apologies for the wait for Part 2 for those that you have seen Part 1. I have taken a bit of time off over Christmas and New Year, and then following that I came down with COVID, which I'm on the mend from now. So apologies again from that, but I am back with you. Before I get started with the fun stuff, I would just like to thank my channel sponsor, PCB Way. As the name would suggest, they do PCBs, and you can order them like this blank, or you can have them populate them for you. With order values from as little as $5 and fast shipping and fast turnaround, they make a great choice. But PCB Way, they also do 3D printing, as I had this case made up. And they also do CNC machining. And if you're stuck for ideas and you're a Spectrum nut like me, check out their project pages. They've got some great ideas on there to inspire you for your next project. I'd just like to thank PCB Way for helping make videos like this possible, and there is a link in the description. So I've just plugged my test ROM in, and it's doing nothing. Well, not a test ROM, but test card in, and nothing to test yet. So let's do a few voltage checks, see if we've got the appropriate voltages. Right, just checking the voltages then. I'll use that as my ground. Let's see what we've got. I think that's earth anyway. Right, I've got 5 volts. It's meant to be minus 5 volts. I can't remember. Right, so I've got 5 volts. We've got 12. Got minus 5 volts, and I've got 12 volts. Yeah, so I'm happy with that. Right, what I strongly suspect, what's more likely than anything, is the ULA. Let me get another ULA. Let's just swap that out. Let's just see if we can do a quick fix. So I've popped the ULA out. Let's swap it with a known good one. Sure everything's lined up before I push it home. Right, let's try that. Right. No, that's exactly the same as before. Okay, more digging. I think the next thing I'm going to do is just going to get rid of this heat sink, just so it's out of the way. I don't intend to leave it on for any extended periods of times until I've got it fixed, so it's not going to be a big issue. It's just bugging me in the way constantly. I'll probably do what I usually do with these and replace it with a much more modern equivalent, which doesn't cause any heat and won't need the heat sink. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to swap out all these capacitors because the capacitors are very prone to failure on the Spectrum. And before I can do any proper troubleshooting, I need to get these swapped out. So that's going to be the next job. So I've got all the capacitors off and I'm just giving the board a bit of a clean. But I just thought I'd show you why it's worthwhile swapping out the capacitors. Now, I'll see if I can find the worst ones. See what I mean on there? All the fluids leaked out. And there's quite a few that look well past the best. So before I can find any other problems, I need to sort that. But as you can notice, where I took that capacitor off there, I don't know if you can see, I'll just try zoom in with the camera. But we've got a bit of corrosion around that leg there. It's not bad, and I'll see if I can clean it off. I don't think it'll affect performance. Just looking at the underside, everything else looks okay there. So let's keep going and see how we get on. So I've had a bit of something to eat, had a bit of a think, and I thought, Simon, you're a friggin' idiot. You were trying to use the expansion card to test the board, and yet, well, work it out yourselves. Look at the state of the edge connectors. I'd be surprised if anything worked, even on a fully working Spectrum connected up through those, but there you go. That's part of the fun. Right, the next thing then is to bob these capacitors back in, and these are new. They came off another donor board, but these went in brand new on those, so they're as good as new, so to speak. They were never used before. Let's see. Hopefully they'll even be gapped to a similar size. So now I think to give this edge connector a bit of a tidy up if we can. Right, let's give it a whirl now with the capacitors swapped. I don't think I'm going to see any difference, to be honest, but yeah, same old. It's worth changing them though. I'm pretty certain with a white border and the black and white stripes that it's going to be a lower memory problem, which will be potentially one of these chips here. I think what I'll try and do is I'll try and put the oscilloscope on it and see what activity I've got. See if all the chips are behaving in a similar fashion or if there's an odd one out. No, it's exactly the same again. No difference. No difference. I think what I need to do is start having a look at the RAM chips. So that's next, I think. Right, just because I'm probably going to have it on for some extended periods of time, that's probably going to get quite hot if that's the case. I'm going to bob this out and I'm going to bob this on. So we've got no problems with A, burning myself, or B, everything getting too hot. Let's see if I can bob this off. just rest it on there. Stop it moving. It's amazing. I can't go find some blue tack. How's that looking? Well, that's looking okay. Let's get the rest on. That should do. Now, just while I'm here, before I start going into depth with the RAM chips, seeing as the CPU has already been socketed from a previous repair, well, why not drop in a spare one and see what it's like? It's nice and quick, and we can just eliminate the CPU nice and quickly. I think on the basis to it looks so goddamned awful, I'm gonna completely desolder the CPU and resolder it, clean it all up, make it fresh. It's almost like it's corroded. Don't know why, but there you go. Well, my gun's about to beep in a second once it's heated up. going to bob the ROM out and just drop a test ROM in and see if the test ROM will work in the socket, rather than start messing around with all those chips. Let's bob this off first. Right, so I've desoldered the ROM socket and I've desoldered the ROM chip, I should say, and I've just put a socket on there. I'm just gonna solder this in, and then I'm gonna call it a day for today. Well, quick update. I've swapped out a few bits off camera, replaced the ROM and put a test ROM in. I've swapped out for the CPU for a non-good one, and I've put in the Nebula ULA. And whilst I would always suggest changing one thing at once, reason I've done this is because I can eliminate any faults with these particular things. So I know it can't be the ROM, I know it can't be the CPU, and it can't be the ULA. And the good news is we're starting to have some sort of improvement. So the picture's a bit jumpy. This is on the test ROM. So the first thing it does is test the lower RAM. And it's reporting IC8 as suspect, which we thought it was bad memory from the faults it was displaying. It will then go on and test the upper RAM, and it's reporting IC19. So let's have a look at that. IC8, which is that one there, I think. I've got my glasses on. Yep, that's that one there. And IC19, which I think that one there, that's on the upper RAM. One thing I've learned though is fixing Spectrums is it'll probably be more than just one memory chip that's faulty on the lower RAM. I'd be surprised if it was just one. But the machine should start fine with a fault on the upper RAM. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bob IC8 out and put a socket in and put a non-good memory chip in and see if that does anything. So I've got my Spectrum memory tester. If you've not seen me making this, I do recommend you watching it. It'll be in my videos somewhere below. But let's see. I've got the chip already installed. Let's just see what it thinks of it. Right, let's see if it comes back as faulty. Comes back as good. Let's try it again. Well, I'm not entirely surprised. This chip tester isn't completely infallible, but it does give you an indication. Now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a known good chip in. I've got a bit of a selection here. I'm going to give some of these a try, and I've got some more here as well. And see if it makes any difference to the fault testing. So I've just put a known good one in, and funny enough, it's reporting back exactly the same problem. I'm wondering, because the lower and upper memory are linked, and I don't know if 19 is linked pretty much directly with 8, that it's 19 that's causing the problem. Because like the chip tester that we did came back as good. So I think bob 19 out and let's see if we've got any change in results. Now I've not taken IC19 out, which is this one here. Now when I was taking the capacitor off, this was one that had leaked quite badly. And can you remember the corrosion? And interestingly, this is one reporting a fault. So we may have a smoking gun here. I'm going to bob it off and have a closer look at it and test the chip as well. Quite a bit of corrosion. What do you think? Should stick it in the chip tester. Right, so I've just got the upper RAM chip in the chip tester. Right, it's giving me an error straight away. Yeah, error straight away. Right, I think we're seeing enough of that. I'm going to leave that in there so I don't get confused. Right, before I do anything, let's give this area a bit of a clean. Well, annoyingly, there doesn't seem to be any difference. IC8, and then in a minute it's going to come back with an upper RAM fail. So it's doing exactly the same as what it was. Well, it's been a couple of hours or so for me, but I've decided to resocket all the lower RAM. And I've done that for a couple of reasons. Based on my previous experience with the Spectrum, I was satisfied that beyond... the probability was, let's put it this way, the probability was it was going to be more than just one faulty RAM chip. And I thought, why not just socket the whole thing? It also makes it look neater as well. Just flip it over and show you the other side. Not too bad a job. Could be better, I'm sure, but every day is a school day. John, if you're watching this, I hope I continue to learn. But anyway, yeah, so that's what I thought about doing, and I'm glad that I did. And let me show you why. So here we've got a few of the ICs from the lower memory, and each of these has failed. So out of the 8, I've got 4 which have failed. Okay, so we do have some progress. Let me show you. Right, I've got a nice, clear, stable picture now. And IC1, IC3, IC4, suspect. Just let this finish. Still saying an issue with IC19, potentially. Right, so all I have done is I've just swapped out the memory, and ideally it would all be matching, but that isn't the case, and playing around with the memory chips and swapping them around has sorted out the picture issue, which I thought it would do. Now, IC1 is the UL8, and IC3 and 4, wherever we are, somewhere at the back there. IC3, IC4, there we go. Those are logic chips, which I believe are in relation to the memory controlling. Now, I think the sensible thing to do is just bob those straight out and swap them around with some good ones. So that's what I'm going to do. So another little update. I've removed IC3 and IC4, and I've just been through and done a continuity test, and everything looks good. Everything's connected to what it should be. So just flip it around and managed to get these off without ripping out any of the wires. So everything is looking good. The downside is, of course, I've only got one socket left, which is a little bit annoying. So I will have to order myself some more 16-pin sockets and resume recording once I get them back. So it's still not working. However, I've decided to do a few different things, and I've done some of it already off camera. You'll see some of the, excuse the machine beeping as it's warming up. I've decided to remove the upper RAM. Now I've already taken 4 of them off, as you can see here, and I've done one and socketed, and I've still another 3 to go. And the reason for this is what I've decided to do with this board is I've decided to socket all the ICs, or at least most of them anyway. And the reason for that is what I want to have is I want to have a board that's hopefully working where I can swap everything out if necessary, and nice and easy. So if I've got another Spectrum that isn't working, I could just take an IC off that that's suspected faulty and then stick it in this board nice and quickly and just see if that's causing me a problem. So that's the plan with this machine. Still need to get it working, obviously, but once I've got all the ICs out and socketed, hopefully the process won't be too bad. And as you'll see in places, it's really been stored quite badly as this board. The Spectrum, it's not in great nick, but I'm still confident I can get it working. But we shall see. Right, so you join me back in Crazy Town Central. And I say that because I think I'm losing my mind with this one. It had originally got a nice possible fault IC1, IC3, IC4. Now IC1's the ULA, which I'm pretty confident this ULA is absolutely fine. And IC3 and 4 are those logic chips, which I've swapped for new. And I'm still getting that fault. However, I was getting an upper RAM fault on IC19. Now, I've just jiggled those around. I swapped, which is at, I think, 19 and 20. I swapped those around, and then bizarrely, the fault moved to IC17, which is this one here, which I've swapped for a new one. And now doing that, as you will see, I'll just fire it through and let it run. So it will fail on the lower RAM. Well, it's not saying that it's a lower memory failure, it's saying IC1, IC3, IC4 suspect. One of those. So it's not actually a lower memory failure as such. What do you think? I shall do some more digging and come back to you. So I've done an awful lot of work off camera, but I need to show you this. Be patient. Be patient. Lower RAM, okay. In case you can't read. Test 2 of 3. Test 3 of 3. Yes, it's working. Right, let's see if we can fire up again. Hang on. Try and avoid my fat head. Let's just swap that over. I know I can't play it with joystick. I've got a dodgy joystick. I can't move down. So it's working. Right, now I need to tell you what on earth has been going on with it and why it's taken me so long to do this video and get it finished. So if you recall, I was getting an address error and suspecting IC1, which is the ULA, and IC3 and IC4 as faulty. Now I swapped those out for good ones. I knew that my ULA was fine, which at the time I was using the Nebula ULA, which was fine, or at least so I thought. And I ended up going and checking all the traces from the circuit diagram. I'll bring that up if I can. And I was checking all the connections from the memory to the ULA to the ROM to the CPU. And this took me, well, it certainly took me a lot of hours. Spread out over a number of days to check and follow each trace, checking the resistance on each trace, making sure there's continuity from pin to pin. It really took me forever, and I couldn't find a single thing wrong with it, not one thing. So I thought, right, let's get rid of the Nebula ULA, because I had a few ULAs kicking around and I couldn't remember which one worked and which one didn't. And so I took that out and I put in a good ULA and it booted. It booted straight away. So I put the Nebula ULA back in, and sure enough, as soon as I did that, it didn't want to work. When I tried booting it without the test ROM, I got a black screen with red vertical lines. It just didn't want to work. Now I looked at the info for this, and it doesn't specifically mention that it's been tested with the 4A board. So I'm only guessing that either there's a problem on here that I haven't found, excuse me, or that there's a compatibility issue. So if you're working with a 4A and you're using a Nebula ULA, you just might want to be a little bit careful and double check what you're doing. So there's certainly a few faults with this machine, to say the least, and there's some which still need addressing, but this is gonna make the video just take too long otherwise. The CPU on this was dead, or at least not working properly. So was the ULA. That was also goosed. There was one of the upper RAM chips. I don't know if that's an upper RAM chip. I think it is. There's an upper RAM chip which was definitely not working. And I think the reason why, when I swapped it round and it still gave me the error, I just think I hadn't socketed it into the thing properly, because with a bit of jiggery poker it worked absolutely fine. There was a couple of the lower RAM chips which were also iffy. Was it 2 or 1? I think it was 1, wasn't it? One of the lower RAM chips. And then lo and behold, when I do finally get it all working, I found out that the speaker wasn't working either. And it's a really simple test, the speaker. You just measure the resistance across it. It should be about 30 ohms, I think, or 40 ohms, depending on the version. I think 30. And needless to say, I got rid of the rather crusty modulator as well. So there's quite a lot going wrong on this board. There's still a couple of things that need to be sorted. There's the power jack that I need to replace that I managed to melt when I wasn't looking what I was doing with my soldering iron. So that's due to be replaced. And on top of that, the keyboard connector is not working properly. I've got a new membrane, and when I plug it in, it's not making a good connection. So this is going to be swapped out as well. So let's get that out of the way. This is a new case that's going to be going in. that'll look rather nice in there. I'm sure you will agree. I don't know what I'm going to do with that thing. It's clearly beyond, certainly the faceplate is beyond repair. If anybody wants it, let me know, because I don't think I'm going to do anything with it. If you want it, leave me a comment. So there we have it, another Spectrum saved from the scrap heap. If you like what I do, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and a subscribe if you'd like to see more of what I do. If you want to support my channel, there is a comment in the description where you can buy me a coffee. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I will see you again soon for another one. Bye for now.